Good evening. It is the 20th of February, 2023. I keep talking about how quickly the year is going by. It's hard to believe that we are almost 2 months finished of a year so far. I hope that you're doing well. I'm delighted that you're with us this evening. Lots going on. This week is Public Education Week at the Capitol. I was there today. Great turnout of people who are there to support public education, which is, of course, something that we all value so much. Tonight, we continue with our Black History Culture Month, Black History and Culture Month. We've had some great guests this month, and I'm delighted tonight with a very special guest, and I think you're going to find her entertaining as well as quite informative. All that and more on tonight's Hamilton Report. Quick shout out to my barber, Baba, who was able to get my hair cut in just in time for tonight's show. I appreciate the work that he does. Well, it's been an extraordinary couple of weeks with all the nonsense that we're seeing come out of the legislature. We're also seeing some good things. Thankful that we have some good Democrats in our legislature who are proposing good common sense legislation that makes sense for everyone. And that's a nice breath of fresh air, considering all of the lunacy on the other side. But speaking of the other side, nobody can put it in perspective quite like the Lincoln Project. Let's take a look at the Republican Party last week, according to the Lincoln Project.
Raise your hand if you believe Mitch McConnell is a Democrat.
Yeah. Rupert Murdoch, Elizabeth Murdoch, Elon Musk.
Do we know the story from the Bible? When Satan fell from heaven and he brought down those fallen angels with him? It's exactly what played out on our screens.
If there's any other coloring national anthem that we need, it's the orange national anthem. Bitches, that's fact.
I climb these buildings because I want to show people how to have faith over fear. Abortion is murder, and that's the truth.
We're investigating the investigators. We're investigating the investigators.
If NORAD can track Santa, they should be able to track something the size of 3 school buses.
You lose with dignity, you shake the other person's hand, and you walk away. I didn't lose, so I'm not doing that.
Wow, what a nice guy Jeffrey Epstein is, letting all the kids in the neighborhood swim in his pool.
There was an unmistakable 1970s suburban Connecticut Tea Party vibe to it. They let bystanders film the whole thing, so clearly these people are exhibitionists too. Not tea.
You robbed my vote!
This is the best.
You voted in New York.
What are you talking about?
They want to make you think that a man's got to be able to go up and slobber all over another man and hug and kiss him and pretend like they're married.
I want a dictator. I want a supreme leader, totalitarian, Christian dictator.
Those are some nasty women on that show, and they have no right to insult anyone's fashion.
God bless Elon Musk, man. He's never going to hang out with me and go to Litton's and have a hamburger here in Knoxville, but dadgum, I wished he would.
He's gone open kimono.
A sitting president was banned from Twitter. You know, I bet that Putin is sitting in the Kremlin wishing he had as much election interference as you four here today.
You don't separate MAGA from the man that created it. When you do not support the man that God has ordained for the job, you are a Judas.
You can't make this stuff up, folks. Well, like I said, we continue with our Black History Culture Month celebration tonight. We began this month speaking with Felix Linden, an extraordinary educator here in Oklahoma City. Next, we talked with LaCharles Purvey, a very talented playwright, also in Oklahoma. And tonight, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to someone who I just think is an incredible entertainer, And before we started the program this evening, I told her that I was very happy that she would be with us so that I can demonstrate what she gives to the people of Oklahoma and how she contributes in such a powerful way to our culture here. And it's with great pleasure that I welcome to the Hamilton Report, Gizele Monáe. Gizele, welcome.
Hello, hello, hello.
This is the first time I've had a drag queen on this show, and it was appropriate that it be you because this is Black History Month, and you make history every week when you perform. And I say that because you entertain people. You bring light and life to the stage. And I want to talk a little bit about your career. How long have you been performing in drag?
I've been performing for 13 long years.
So you were only 6 when you started?
Yes, exactly. Going on 2.
So 13 years. And all that time it's been in Oklahoma?
All that time it's been in Oklahoma City Metro.
When I say that, that's where you live, but you also perform other places as well.
Yes. I've been around the country, actually, for quite some time.
So let's talk a little bit about drag culture. I think that some of our viewers would be surprised to learn that as drag as we know it dates back to the early 1600s. And I'll tell everyone why in a moment. That's so important. But there is evidence in Roman culture way before that of men dressing in drag for art, for other purposes. But this is not a new phenomenon. It's not a new art form. The art of female illusion has been with us a very long time. And the reason I mentioned this early 1600s is because the church at that time was intricately involved with theater, and they prescribed what could and what could not be presented in a play. And part of that was that women could not perform on stage. So in all of Shakespeare's plays, those parts written for women were actually performed by men. Now, the irony of all this is that it was religious people who set this in motion, and it's religious people today who are screaming their hearts out over the travesty that we know as drag. You talk about something coming full circle. That really has, Gizele.
Yes, most definitely.
When I think of drag, I think of entertaining. I mean, some of the best performances I've seen have actually moved me to tears. And you sing as a part of your show. Many folks just, I won't say just, lip syncing is an art as well. I'm not taking anything away from anyone, but you actually do sing in your performance. How does that work in your brain when you are presenting as a female and you still have you have some baritone in there?
I actually don't have any baritone in me.
What is that? That sounds like baritone to me.
It sounds like when I talk. Just think about Mariah Carey has a deep voice. Monica, a lot of female artists have deep voice. But when I sing, I honestly don't have a baritone.
No, you don't. It just kind of floats up there.
It does. And that's a lot to do with me making sure that I sang high notes when I was like going through puberty and stuff, and just really pushing myself to hit notes that I never thought that I could hit. And I tell people that all the time, especially when I'm like doing karaoke and people are on stage and they're like, can you lower the key for me? I'm like, I can, but I feel like you can hit that note. And then sometimes I don't change the key and they hit the note. Yeah. And I tell people, if you hit the note once, you can hit it again.
Where can people see you on a regular basis perform?
Regularly is usually every Thursday. I'm hosting karaoke, and then every third Saturday, I am doing a live show and both of those are at Faces OKC.
Okay.
So a lot of my time. Now this week I won't actually be there, but a lot of the time you can catch me on that Thursday.
Well, you had a busy weekend. I know that you hosted a pageant, or put on a pageant, actually.
Yes.
And what's entailed in that? How that must be very it's frustrating, just trying to keep all the pieces in place and all the parts moving.
I wouldn't use the word frustrating, and I'm the kind of person that it's very hard to stress me out, and it's kind of a problem sometimes because I should be stressing out in certain situations that I don't stress out in. So I put a lot on my plate, and I do that all the time because, I was getting ready for nationals in January, and as soon as I was crowned back in March, I was getting ready for my prelims to oversee as Miss Oklahoma. And then I decided, let me go ahead and promote this pageant on top of all that. So, but I feel like it's kind of an obligation to me, as when I pick up these titles, when I capture these dreams, I know I have an obligation to fulfill duties as a former, because when you take that crown off at the end of the year, it's not over. It really is just a new beginning as a former, and making sure the new future comes through. And the pageant that I actually promote is Miss Gay Capital City USA Newcomer, because I'm a former Miss Oklahoma USA Newcomer. And I wanted to be someone that helped contestants in, not just as a former, but also as a promoter. So it's no sweat off my back, because I love helping. And that is part of the reason why I started drag. Like, when I saw all the entertainers, I knew I wanted to do drag just because of where I was in my journey as a person. And I knew that drag was going to be a good avenue to help motivate and help be a role model for future people, regardless if they're doing drag or not.
Gizele, you said that it's important to you to help people. And we should point out that some of the greatest fundraisers for the LGBTQ community, and this is going back many years, have been drag queens. If there's a problem, if there's a situation where people need to be helped, an organization that's in trouble, it's the drag performers who step up and step up quickly. Why is that?
It's a lot to do with the fact we're not afraid to be in the spotlight. It takes a lot of, for lack of a better term, balls to get up on that stage in a wig and a dress and be what I call the mascot for our community. So for people that are afraid to have a voice or feel that their voice isn't being heard, we're those people to be the voice for those people that can't do that. And because we don't mind. And if we have to come unwigged, we don't mind. But because we know there's people behind us that need that assistance. So we don't mind getting any tomatoes thrown at us, because of the fact that it's taken a lot for us to just step on that stage to begin with. And a lot of us have backgrounds just outside of drag that have pushed us to be the voice for our communities. So again, we don't mind.
And that's true. As you were speaking, I thought of something that I hadn't thought of in a while. When I was living in New York, 3 Jersey boys came into Manhattan one night with the sole purpose of beating up a drag queen. And these were your typical Jersey Shore kind of fellas. And they messed with the wrong queen. She stomped them with her 6-inch stilettos. She knocked one of them unconscious, put one of them in the hospital, and all 3 of the boys were arrested. The young men were arrested. And my favorite headline ever was the New York Post saying, 3 Jersey boys knocked out by drag queen. those guys, had a hard time going back home.
And I what's funny? And it's stories like that I love, because there's this misconception that we're just gonna take it. And I think that the fact that we dress up in drag, I think it intimidates homophobic people, but also it gives them this idea that we're fragile for whatever reason. And I guess they don't think of what it takes to actually get in drag and be in that spotlight. So we're not the ones to mess with. Don't let the wig and the makeup and the nails fool you, because they can all come off real quick.
But isn't that true? I mean, yeah. I think that that in society, women are thought of as being fragile and, need to be taken care of. But the older I get, the more I see that women are very capable of standing up for themselves. And that's one of the things I love about drag is it's a representation of women, sometimes in the extreme. And but it's, when I hear Gizele, people talking about, you can't expose kids to this, and think about the movies that were produced in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, men in drag, and people went to the movies and they laughed and they had a good time. And now all of a sudden there is this overwhelming fear. Have you ever done a story hour?
I've done it once, but aside from that, I've done a lot of shows where there was children there, and they were all family-friendly shows, and it was prefaced that they're family-friendly shows. And I love kids, and I have several pictures of me of the kids dancing just to the music and just seeing me do my thing to a song, and there was no harm, no foul.
Of course, and that's something that I think we don't amplify enough. And I say we, I mean people who are affirming or allies or a part of the LGBTQ plus community. That there was something online last week, and I thought it was very interesting. In Texas, they arrested a ton of people on sex trafficking charges. Mm-hmm. These included a couple of ministers, youth pastors, elected officials. There wasn't one drag queen in the bunch of over 100 people, because that's not what drag queens do.
No.
And when I see the pictures of kids at Drag Queen Story Hour, there's just this joy that you can see on the kids' faces.
And I find it's very ironic. It all is just so ironic when you think of the reasons behind why they're trying to remove drag from children. It's all hypocritical. I think one thing that stands out to me is is the story hour. They're trying to remove drag queens from reading to the kids, and especially in a state like Oklahoma, which a lot of teachers are leaving the classrooms. So you're trying to remove us from reading to them. Who's going to read to them?
Thank you. Yes.
And it's so ironic. And it's what's funny is also, I thought about it as you were saying it. Drag queens, we get in drag because we're kind of a distraction to the struggles of the world. We want to entertain people on a night or at a daytime, and for that small amount of time, we're entertainment for people. They don't have to think about the struggles of their life, or sometimes we might move them through music and they might think about their struggles and they might think that it's not so much of a struggle. So we're a distraction. And when you think about it, all of this removal of drag from society is all a distraction to everything else that's going on in the world. And all the people behind these closed doors that are actually molesting children. It's all a big distraction from that. And it's like they're trying to hide something, which is usually how it goes. Trying to hide something.
It really is. And I'm so frustrated, not just here in Oklahoma. We're seeing this kind of nonsense play out in other states as well. But what this means is some of these laws would prohibit pride parades that included a drag queen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, look, I have seen plenty of drag performers, and I can tell you something. Most of them are dressed far finer and wear their clothes much more modestly than a lot of little hoochie mamas running around Penn Square Mall. And so I don't understand why this bigotry is now turned on drag queens. It's been around forever. It's nothing new. But all of a sudden, drag queens and trans people are right in the line of fire. Do you have any thoughts on why this is happening now?
The term that I see thrown around the most is the term grooming. For whatever reason, they feel that we're trying to groom children into something that they're inevitably going to be, regardless of what we're entertaining them as. And that's what's funny about it. So my question is to them, if we're grooming them before there was drag queens, or before we were mainstream, like before Drag Race or whatever, who was grooming them to do things then? Why all of a sudden is it the drag queens responsible? They're giving us a lot of more power than we actually have when you think about it. Like,
Yes.
we have a lot of power in our community, but they're giving us more credit than we need or want or have, for that matter. Grooming.
And I think that you're absolutely right. I did not grow up watching drag performances, but I'm gay nonetheless. I mean, that's not, so that didn't, I wasn't groomed by anyone to be anything other than who I am.
A lot. And what's funny is most of us drag queens were groomed from heteronormative society. Like, we watched movies, we watched The Wizard of Oz. I know I wanted to do drag when I saw Glinda the Witch come out of that bubble in The Wizard of Oz. It had nothing to do with watching another drag queen, because watching Tu Wong Fu didn't do it for me. They were great, but that's not why I wanted to be a drag queen. It's theater to me. It's being on that stage and entertaining. And I've done theater all my life. And that's what most theater is. It's being the character that you're not for for the purpose.
You know, I was thinking about drag queens and children, and if you have a magician at your kid's birthday party, he's not really pulling rabbits out of the hat. It's an illusion. If you have a clown at your kid's birthday party, or someone dressed as a cowboy with a little donkey, that's not who they are. It's an illusion. It's like you said, it's presenting something other than yourself. Of course, a lot of yourself goes into the performance, no question. That's true of, I think, every actor in any role. Part of themselves comes through. But part of it is, like you started out by saying, we're not afraid of the spotlight. And you can get out there and you can say whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. And when you get home and you take off your makeup, you're back to just being yourself again.
Exactly.
You are recently married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How many months has it been now?
Well, November the 23rd was it. So we're going on December, January, on the 3rd month.
Yeah.
So we've been together for 8 years. So,
well, congratulations on that. How is it for your husband being married to a drag queen?
I would ask him that question. I mean, because honestly, it's just now last year. So we've lived apart for the past year because he works in Philadelphia. And during the beginning of that, he kind of opened up a lot about me that I didn't know. One of the things he told me, because I was pointing out that he always has resting bitch face when he's watching my performances. And I always thought he was just tired of watching me perform. Come to find out, he has to put on this facade so that he doesn't cry through my music. Like, apparently everything I sing makes him cry. He gets emotional. So for what I believe that he loves being married to a drag queen. And I'm very easy. I'm not that kind of one that uses my husband as the drag husband that has him carrying on my luggage. So he doesn't have any struggle in that. And I think part of the reason why what he loves about me is because he's a big introvert and I'm the extrovert. So it kind of balances things out. And I'm kind of used as that extrovert for him too. So he likes the outgoing part of me because he knows he's not that as outgoing in that aspect.
Let's talk a minute about RuPaul.
Okay.
Has Drag Race helped or has it hurt drag?
It's two sides to that. In one aspect, it's helped us become more mainstream. Beyond the struggles that we have right now with society trying to get rid of it, it really has helped people be more familiar with it and love it. On the other side, I mean, it kind of hurts us sometimes on the community level, in the bar level, because so many new entertainers, they want to be almost like RuPaul's Drag Race is the go-to for drag. And some people feel like it is the be-all, end-all of drag, and they forget that there's us in the bars doing entertainment for people. And in that aspect, and it's also kind of hurting pageantry sometimes, but for the most part, it's a very positive thing. And we can only do, we can't take it too seriously on the fact that it hurts us in some areas. If honestly, it kind of pushes us to try to be on that level, you know what, to just really familiarize it with our communities. But for it's mostly positive, I would say, rather than negative.
And I'm glad to hear that. Where, if you could look in your crystal ball, where do you see drag 10 years from now?
10 years from now? I honestly think we're going to move past what we're doing right now. I don't see it really getting very far. I feel like drag will be very normal in 10 years. And it will also, hopefully it'll still be as entertaining, and it's not so normalized that we lose the entertainment aspect of it. But I don't see that. I think just like any entertainment in the business, it'll just be bigger and broader. And hopefully we'll all be getting paid more in 10 years.
Absolutely. I agree that that's very necessary.
Yes.
Gizele, anything you'd like to share before we end our time together this evening? Anything you'd like to share with our audience?
Just sharing that, like I said, there's nothing harmful about drag. Any harm in drag is us fighting each other half the time over whose jewelry or whose wig looks better and things like that. But to society, we're only there to entertain. We're only there to be role models for the future generations. And we're there to help people. That's all we're there, especially me. I always tell people that I love to sing because I move people through my voice and through my songs. And that's all I want to do. And that's all I want to continue to do. So if I had to leave anything, it would be that. Just let me sing for the children.
I love that. Gizele, you're a treasure. I adore you, and I'm grateful for your friendship. And I'm particularly grateful for all that you do, both in drag and out of drag in our community. You've got important work that has nothing to do with drag. So much appreciation to you. And I know it was challenging to have to get dressed tonight for this show, but I'm glad you did. I'm so glad you joined us.
Thank you.
And we will definitely let people know where they can see you coming up. Okay.
Yes, please do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gizele. Good night.
Good night.
Well, friends, before we go, I want to take just a moment. As I'm sure you all know, President Carter has decided to receive hospice care at home. This is after a number of hospital visits. While he was diagnosed with cancer, he eventually was determined to be cancer-free, but he is not well. And so we just send out our very best wishes to President Carter, First Lady Rosalind Carter, and their whole family. And what an amazing thing to think about all of the people today who have homes because of his work. Well, friends, I hope that you'll tune in and join us next Monday evening at 6:30. It's always a pleasure to have this time together with you. It's an honor for you to invite us into your home. Please take good care of yourself. Enjoy the spring-like weather on the days that we have it. I'll look forward to seeing you next Monday night. On behalf of all of us here at the Oklahoma Democratic Party, I'm Scott J. Hamilton. Good night.